What's up, everyone? This is the Denning Podcast, and I'm your host, Jake Denning, where it's my goal to bring on some of the best individuals in the alternative music scene and have a fun and engaging conversation. As always, I've got a great episode for you. I have producer Tyler Smyth, who has produced some of the biggest names in rock, including Falling in Reverse, I Prevail, Devil Wears Prada, and more. He has multiple Grammy nominations under his belt and has seen the top of the rock charts numerous times. We talk about working with some of these names and what it takes to put out songs that connect with a wide variety of people. He's been working super hard for so many years, and it's super exciting to see him experience so much success. If you're liking what I'm doing here, definitely give this podcast a follow wherever you like to podcast and tell a friend, as that's a huge way to get the show in front of new people. With all that out of the way, I'm excited to share my chat with Tyler Smyth. Enjoy. How you been, though? How's LA?
I've been well, busy. I don't know. What does everyone say? Probably that stuff. But yeah, I'm still enjoying LA. I'm definitely, I don't know. I never really leave my house very much, so I don't know. It just happens to be the location of my house. But yeah, it's going well, man. Life is good.
Tell me you had great AC over the last couple days.
I have awesome AC. I probably need to get it checked just to be on the safe side, but knock on wood, it's good. It's nice. I'm pretty bougie with it. Like I just rather be comfortable, so
Because I think it got hotter down in LA than it got up in Oregon. We got like 102, 103.
wow. Yeah, I mean, we can break 100. I don't know if we have recently, unless I haven't been paying attention, but it's definitely, I mean, we've been having like heat waves and like, I don't know, it's weird. A lot of rain too, like, well, for LA. And then I don't know, there's like some mosquitoes and stuff. It's like some humidity. It's really weird. It's like everything's changing,
Yeah, and when it
but
rain,
definitely still temperate and nice.
yeah, when it rains, all hell breaks loose too with traffic, and people like don't know how to react to it, and like, yeah,
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's honestly, it makes sense though. Like if you live here, some of these roads, depending on the rainfall, just can't handle it. So you really do have to be careful. But if it's your typical cloudless like LA day, like mid 70s, it's fine. Super fine.
but dude, this is like the end of your day, so to speak. I mean, you're pretty much 9 to 5, come in, come out, and you're just producing all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that simple. I mean, I'm pretty much working all the time. The only reason I even now have like, try to have some set structure is just because I became a dad almost a year ago, but about 11 months ago. And so my new normal is different from my previous normal, which was like all my time was my own and et cetera, et cetera. So now I want to spend time with my daughter. So like I try to carve out time. I try to be, I try to like really surgically like get stuff done in the windows that I have, because I know that there's like either my wife most of the time, or there's like people hanging out with my daughter so that I can do the work. So there's that
Right.
level of like, well, I want to do it, right? Because these people are expecting me to. And then there's just also, obviously, I just want to see my daughter. So it's like,
Yeah, of
I
course.
want to get done. It's cool. I don't have like working from home, you don't get the feeling of coming home, if that makes sense, when you're
Yeah,
done with the
yeah,
day. But
for sure.
now I feel it a little bit, even though just by having my daughter there, it's like I get to like, there's like a thing at the end of the day, right? Where I'm like, hey, and she's, laughs and smiles, and like, it's great. So,
Yeah, that's a huge blessing though to be able to work from home, but also have like that space kind of away from what's normal and
yeah,
whatnot.
it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Like I don't want the space, but I have to have it. And
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
it just adds that pressure to get stuff done with the windows that you get.
Yeah,
And it's hard. Creativity doesn't always function that way. It's like hard to just be like, all right, I'll be creative starting now. And
Y-
then, you know, song idea,
yeah,
go.
for
It just
sure.
it's very intimidating staring at like an empty session, and you're like, all right, I have 3 hours to like come up with something that people just love. It's like but
I
I like it. I really enjoy those parts of the job too, actually. So
I never would have actually thought about that, where you just have to like you get that one chunk of time and whatever you get, you get.
yeah, it's neat. It's like I think it's really easy to like pout about it or like mourn the loss of the way I had created in the past, where I had, and I still have, it's like I'm still the same person, don't get me wrong, but
No, for sure.
I've actually leaned into it more and gotten really I'm sort of obsessed actually with the like process of it all, like
Mm-hmm.
really messing with, I don't know, like where does this song really come from? I mean, there's so many great interviews with so many great writers and artists, and they'll all tell you the same thing. Like no one really knows where the is gonna come from, and the really great ones are just really attuned to it. Like they're listening for it and they're looking for it all the time. So like when those little things jump out at them, I've now gotten obsessed with the process. So like now instead of I don't know. I get really, the thing that gives me that high now or whatever is like, how do I approach writing a song? Like, because I think there's one method, right? You sit down on a couch with the artist and you pick up a guitar and you guys like strum back and forth. But there's so many other ways, And
Mm-hmm.
so lately I've been messing with that part of the process. Like, where I sort of I do this thing where I like to fall backwards into the song is how I like to say it. Like I sort of like for us to find the song and the song to find us at the same time. It sounds so like sappy and weird when I say it out loud, but it's like it really is a good way to describe it. You just create the conditions for like a really cool bespoke idea to kind of emerge, and then you kind of play the what if game. You're like, okay, so there's like a 90% chance that this doesn't work and it's awkward, but can you not also see this 10% chance it does, and like look at it in a healthy way, like a spectrum, right? There's like
Yeah.
the unhealthy version of the idea, and then there's like the healthy version. So I like to imagine, I try to treat everything like serious and just think like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, what can this be? And sometimes it's like you just, I don't know, it's neat. There's all these like creative tools these days and just ways that you can be inspired, and
Mm-hmm.
and then ways you can arrive at even just the recorded version of the idea, which is again just like one version of the idea. So that's been my new obsession, and it's really gone well in conjunction with like my changing schedule and just my new normal with being a dad and having less time. Like I used to just sort of, that was like kind of my currency that I could just throw at everything. Is I was like, well, I'll just sit here longer than everybody, and I still do, but it's like it's just different, right? I don't want people to have to wait like all year to get their product or whatever. So yeah, I don't know, just having
Yeah,
fun, man. I
dude.
really
Of
am.
course. I mean, your notes app must look crazy.
Dude, I can't remember who it was I was with recently, like that I was just writing with. It doesn't matter. I don't want to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
that guy or whatever. But I remember we were writing lyrics, and they were like, "Oh my God, are those your lyrics or whatever?" Because I was like scrolling on my phone, and I was like, "Oh yeah, check it out." And I just started scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and they were just dying laughing. They were like, "What the hell?" They're like, "How do you find anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have it all in one notes app. It's just one humongous file." And the truth is, I have slowly been
Mm-hmm.
like pivoting to there's like a secondary system almost, but that's just kind of like my raw inspiration. It's like all in one messy notepad file, and it's filled with other stuff too. Like sometimes there's just like ideas I have, or like little inspirational things that get me like fired up or make
Oh
me
yeah.
feel good about what I'm doing and stuff like that. And then obviously there's lyrics and song ideas, but I've got another app too that I use to write more organized thoughts and sort of like, I'm going to write the lyrics to a song with music this time. That's like a different way. And so I'll just sort of like write it almost like a story or a poem. And then, you sit down to write a song with the artist or whatever, and you've got this like effectively like a sample pack of lyrics, if that makes sense. You've got all these like cool tidbits that are cohesive and make sense. And then you just sort of wrap them around the song in the way that makes the most sense. But yeah, it's wild. It's a mess. It's a
Okay.
bit of a mess.
Are you on iOS 18 yet?
Are you asking like basically my beta
No, no, no. Like,
testing? Because I'm not.
because I say that because the update, it's like beta 3 right now, but it does a really good job of like pulling out keywords. If you search like, I don't know,
I do.
yeah, it's
I
super
do
nice.
search the search phrases a lot. That's great. No, I mean, and it is the default notes app that I'm referring to. That's just got like all these massive files. And then I use this to do app that it's called Things, and I actually use it for lyrics and all kinds of stuff. It's just a neat way to organize a lot of written stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Then there's the projects themselves, and like they have lyrics in them, like they have a notepad associated with them. So it's like a whole rabbit hole of things.
No, you mentioned like the things that kind of like really fire you up and really get you going. What are some of those things?
Oh, well, that's kind of the part I'm having fun with, right? Like it could be lots of things. I think somewhere along the way I had sort of like epiphany moment with myself where
Hmm.
I would write every song kind of the same way, and I'd kind of have a guitar in my hands because that's where I sort of began my musical journey as a guitarist. And I don't know, it's like I'm a drop D kid, so everything I'm in drop D, and everything I write, I'm like, this just sounds like everything I play all the time. And I used to hate on myself for it for like a long, long time. And then one day I just sort of was like, I don't know, what if this is what if I'm really good at? You know what I mean? Like, what if I lean in instead of leaning away later and being judgmental about all my stuff? Just writing what I felt qualified to say was cool, in my
Hmm.
opinion, like in the world of drop D, I'd be like, this is sick. Like any dude would think this riff is cool, or like, and just not like judging myself so much. And that really opened this whole door to like, so to answer your question, like to fast forward, like now some things that inspire me, honest to God, are like the possibilities of what I could possibly achieve with this career has changed dramatically since I began. So now
Yeah.
I'm just like, I had a goal. I had a goal for like 15 years, and I sort of thought it was a joke, right? That I was like, one day I'm going to do a job for NASA. And I used to tell people that. And then like, I actually did end up getting to do it. It was like not a humongous thing, but I got to do it, like a real. And so I don't know, it does something for you. Like I it's like I'm so Midwest, and I don't allow myself to feel good about anything for some reason, but I'm learning. And one of those ways is like, it's hard to shake that, right? It's just a fact. Like, you can hate on yourself all you want and be like, I'm not that good. I'm not that good. But I did do the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. Of course.
I did do the NASA thing. So for me personally, I really like make myself internalize that because I need it. I need the confidence, like
Hmm.
to bet on myself and like trust myself, so that when I'm opening these blank sessions with 3 hours, like I said, I sort of it flips my attitude from like being really intimidated and scared to like, let's fucking go, dude. Like
Yeah.
sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cut.
No, don't
Like
rip
it
it.
really fires me up because I'm like, it's like how I imagine any NBA player or whatever, like walking out, right? Like they're like, cool, this is what I've been training my whole life for. Let's go. And like, it is what it is. Like when you go out hunting, not everything you catch for an idea is going to be great. And sometimes it's good and it becomes great. And sometimes it's great and you lose it along the way. It's like, but you just keep going, man, right? You just keep going looking and you keep trying things. And so that, I know that's a vague answer to your question, but in recent years, I've been working a lot to acknowledge some of the things that I've done that were goals of mine that I actually achieved, right? And it's like
Yeah.
sometimes you need to pat yourself on the back for that, because like, I don't know, man, it's hard out there. It's like it's hard to people. I know it. It's like it's hard to feel like you can celebrate anything these days. But I would imply the opposite, and I would
Hmm.
encourage people to just celebrate everything. It's like, dude, another week, man. Celebrate Friday for real. Like celebrate. Like there's so much, man. Especially like I know I could be corny and like your health and all that stuff, but those things get me fired up. I start to think like, this is it. Like this is what I always wanted, right? Like young me would have, dude. I'd be flipping waffles right now if I knew like that older me would get to make music every day, right? Like just that fact alone. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, man. If young you is proud for you, I think they're doing it right, and I think that deserves to. I use that to take that pressure off, and also enable me to do like my best work, if that makes sense. I know that's a very vague,
No. 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 No.
long-winded
No. No.
answer to what you
That
said,
that is
but
a
I
super
think the
good point,
short
though.
version, it's like a the short version is it's a perspective thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I could tell you it's like a rat race, and I could tell you like, well, of course it's good when you're like doing well, and it's not, but that's life, right? Like that's just everything. what about the things that you didn't care about when you, these are all the things you didn't care about when you were a kid and you got into music, right? And so I think about those things, like what did I value when I was really young, starting my first band and learning guitar? And I'm like, this, right? Like waking up and making music every day, like hanging out with friends, like building these like memories and these moments, even though it's I don't know, I'm not leaving my house, but it's like I value this, right? It's like it's cool, and that really, what a privilege, I guess, is
Dude,
what
it
I'm
is a
getting at.
privilege. It's
And
super cool.
responsibility, even, like to do good work, like what an honor. It's super cool. So, and
Absolutely.
I'm just one person, but I think if anyone can get like that level of gratitude in their lives, like lucky to be happy and healthy, lucky to have a daughter, dude, who takes up my time. It's love it. I love it. I signed up for this. This is low key how I envisioned it. So can I do it or not? Can I handle it or not? Those are, I try to simplify the problem and ask myself the real questions. It's like, I think I can handle it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it makes me very inspired. And, one day maybe I can't. One day I'm too tired. One day, I don't know. But right now, boy, I got a lot. I got a lot of music in me. So yeah, it feels good.
Man, I'm like chewing on this idea, like the 10% idea you had earlier. Like really tap into that 10%, and that's where the magic comes from.
Yeah. I want to teach a phrase that I stole from I Prevail, and I just like what they say because it makes no sense. I don't want to get this wrong. I want to say Eric from the band said it. He's like the screamer,
Yeah.
and he always says bears on poles, like bears on poles, right? And I asked, I was like, what does that mean? He's like, it's a bear on a pole. It's like a weird image, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that's it. That's exactly it. So rather than the whole long-winded, like, okay, guys, I know it's not going to work, but like, you don't, they just say, okay, bears on poles, but what if, and then they just say the crazy idea, right? And it's like, that's what I mean by you create an atmosphere. You like create where the thing being prioritized is creativity, and the thing being given like the most authority in the room is the idea, the concept, versus just like the guitar tone or the snare sound or the
Mm-hmm.
riff, or it's like more about the moment. And I think it translates to like a more evocative like musical experience and stuff. But again, it's a framework. It's like, I love that saying. So I say that all the time. That's that 10% chance that something's not going to work, right? Like, just get crazy, get weird. What if it does? Like, view everything like that. Like, okay, there's the unhealthy idea where we don't put this out because it track it, it's embarrassing, and we laugh about it later. Who cares? A little bit of time wasted, maybe not. Maybe waste is not even the right word. It's like, now you know not to do that, right? You've ruled it out. But there's always a 10% chance you do something and you're like, I thought I was going to hate this, but it's so cool, And it's like sometimes things that are corny in the moment end up being the thing that anchors the whole song. And it's like a willingness to not play everything so safe, right? And just trust that
Yeah.
you might have to give. It's
And,
cool.
and perhaps like maybe you're just ahead of your time. I mean, God, like I was running back some of the old Danger Kid stuff, and like that was pretty far ahead of its time. I mean, if it was released now, it's like, you know, who
with
knows what it would
with an
do.
update to the production and such. But yeah, I don't want to be that guy too, but I've been, quietly working on Danger Kids music for a long time, just
Ooh.
passively. Like, I don't want to. It's just something I will always do, right? And I recently did write. I don't know. I've got a small batch of things, trying to figure out how I can realistically have it all, right? Do that and get my work done and also pursue my band. But I say that, I guess, also just to put a little bit of pressure on myself to actually do it. But I have very real intentions of like at least putting the music out just so the
Yeah.
fans have it, even if there's like nothing to back it up. But I don't know, because I too am intrigued. I'm sort of, all these ideas are sick, but they're not done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm still like, what is Danger Kids like in this year, after not, a band that was fairly progressive for what it was doing. And at the time it was doing it, and like what does that look like today in a way that would make those fans really happy. And I don't know, man, it's I think I can solve that. I think I can figure that out. I hope I can create enough space in my life to put it out there, because it really does mean a lot to me. And I still, people still comment on my stuff asking about Danger Kids every day. It's been so many years, and that I love that, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just indicative of a bigger like love and appreciation. So I am curious. I'm definitely aiming to put something out. I want to say this year, but I don't know.
Why not? Yeah,
Got a great shit though.
I mean, would it be cool to even play like an LA show, just like a one-off?
Oh, more than that, I mean, playing shows would be awesome. I guess I just don't know what that looks like. I don't even know if I don't know. It's like one thing at a time. Like I would be so excuse me. I would be so happy just to make the song and put out the song.
Yeah.
And then, my next thought is, well, okay, what about a video for it? And it's like, okay, well, let's figure that out. It's like there are so many pieces that to do it all, quote unquote, the right way, it's a little paralyzing, right? Because you have to have, the video before you can put the song out, but you have to have a tour lined up to promote the. But like, let's take some of that pressure off, and let's just start by seeing if we can make some songs, and then are they sick? And then, and of course they will be. I mean, they already are. I'm pretty stoked on them, to be quite honest. But they're still, yeah, I don't know. I hope that they get to see the light of day, and I hope that they feel right to a Danger Kids fan.
Yeah.
But I have very, very real, like Andy's flying out here like next month. So yeah, I mean, it's all like we're tracking vocals and
That's
stuff.
what's
So I mean,
up.
it's not
So
nothing.
something's gonna come
It's
out at
not
some point.
nothing. I know, and I wish I could just put that pressure on myself and be like, by the end of the year, you'll notice like there's like I'm always going to be the very realistic one in the band, and like, it's just a lot to figure out, but I'm confident that we can figure it out, because I would
Yeah,
like to
man.
put out music and stuff. I appreciate you bringing up mentioning it. It's been on my mind a lot
Yeah.
lately.
I mean, and it
So
has to be though. I mean, it's tough having those new boundaries with having a daughter and kind of having to cut off your work time at a certain kind of moment, and then you're busy with all the other bands,
hmm
and then you have what time do you have for yourself? It's like that's tough.
yeah, absolutely. But dude, I bet I can solve it, man.
I know you can.
I wrote a couple, and I was actually, for the first time, like, I had that feeling where I was like, damn, I want to put this out right now. And I haven't had that specific, like, I make something and it's so sick, but there's part of me that's just like, but it can't be the comeback song because it sends the wrong
Mm-mm.
message. It makes people think like, we're only a heavy band, or we're only a soft band, or like, it's hard, man. It's like, I've never been in a position also where I was in a band, and I don't know, it's like, yeah, coming back, forget 7-8 years later or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, like, what does that look like? And it's just got to be the right song. But all that to say, I think I've got a couple right now that I'm pretty stoked on. So
Man, I'm curious.
we'll start there. We'll
Have
start with those
you
ones.
have you taken like even a couple weeks over the last couple years and just really gotten away from it all? Like take a really long vacation and just like, man, I did all this stuff. Like I had a hand in number one singles. I had, a couple Grammys under my belt. Like, damn.
I've thought, yeah. I mean, well, for clarity's sake, I've got 2 nominations. I didn't have any Grammy wins, but it does feel the same to me
Pretty much.
because I don't think I envisioned it. Like, it was never like even on the scope of, I was never like writing a song going, maybe this is the Grammy, or something. It was like, no, dude, we're writing like Warped Tour music, and like I'm just making cool ass music with my friends. Like, so yeah, it's been hard to get away. I recently did do a trip. My wife and I celebrated 10 years married, which is pretty awesome.
That's a huge
And
deal.
we did a little trip, and yeah, thank you. I'm really, really proud. I mean, she has everything to do with the success too. And I don't mean that in any kind of like cheesy way. I just mean anyone out there in a good, relationship would understand. It's like having that support system in place literally makes you more effective.
Oh,
Like, it makes you
absolutely.
better
Absolutely.
at you, right? At just being you and like living your life. And like, So I've had that in place for a long time. I've been with my wife a long time, and it's been really great. But having that little bit of separation is cool because, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't feel that significant. But then, like I said, when I step away, I really, really try to internalize like the reality of it. Like I try to tell myself, even though it makes me feel very uncomfortable, like, dude, you are doing all the things that you dreamed of doing when you were a kid. Like, just relax, bro. Like, keep going. You got this. Don't think too hard. You know, it's like I really need that perspective. But said it's like because I don't like to acknowledge any of it, but I actually think it's healthy, right?
Yeah.
It feels really braggy like on a podcast like this, so I won't like mention it, but to myself, I try to like list off all these things I've accomplished that I never thought I would. You know, like no matter what it is, like I don't know. It's you really you need to take a step back and look at the macro of everything, you know, because you're so caught up in the day to day of like when to wake up, when am I, you know, when do I need to like be feeding my child or like when it's like there's all this like day to day stuff. But when you zoom out, you're like, damn, man, that's cool. These people like trusted me
Mm-hmm.
with their vision and we did more than that. We made something that like really impacted. I don't want to say culture, but like a lot of people, you know, it's like on a
No, that
scale
it is though. It's a
that's
big
I
deal.
think that's every artist's dream. And you know, I mean this little tiny, you know, like it just to add your little touch to everything is like such a cool thing. So
No, I mean
yeah, I don't know,
having
man. It's been a great couple of years.
having a part of something that is bigger than yourself that has a wide reach. I mean, you think of a song like Popular Monster. I mean, that song, what is it? How many times platinum?
um I don't know exactly, but I have a 3 million plaque. I know that. So
Yeah.
it's either 3 or 4 times platinum. Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
you got songs like that. I mean, you even have like, smaller songs. I mean, you got the new Blessthefall song. You got Earn
Yeah.
It by the
I mean
Ghost
these are my
Inside. I mean,
friends.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, you got
yeah.
all these different songs. I mean, Earn It, like that's a great song. I mean, that alone as a song, I mean, that does a lot for people. I mean, if that song doesn't get you
Yeah.
up off your ass and wants you to, just get after it and go, I mean, like what else is it going to take?
Yeah, dude. I appreciate that. That band and really any band that's worked with me will tell you that earn it is like a phrase I use a lot in the studio because like whether I'm referring to like a song, like a vibe, or even like a moment, like I'll be like, dude, I want this moment to exist in the song, this crazy moment, but we're gonna have to earn this moment. So we have to like build up to it in a way where all of the things that precede it give you like the artistic license to go crazy right here or whatever, you know. But in their case, it's like way more literal. I mean, just being with that band, and I toured with the Ghost Inside. I can't remember when it was, but I want to say like 2014 or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Oh
You
my
know,
God. It feels so,
like a decade ago.
uh,
You know, in pre-accident with them, and then
mm-hmm.
post-accident to see them on their road and their recovery, and like to getting back out there and playing the biggest shows they've ever played. It's like that song really embodies that journey for them, and so I don't know. I love that shit, and it's so funny. I just want to share that Vigil like came up with the bridge, and it's one of my favorite bridge call outs ever. And we were sitting there trying to write it, and it was so funny because he was just like, I wish I could just say I earned it, you didn't. If you want it, come get it. And I was like, dude, that's the hardest
It is
call out line
hard.
I've ever heard. That should literally be. And so I was like, dude, not only is that the call out, we got to end with that. It's so hard to come get it, and it just cuts. I'm like, bro, it makes my hair sit. You know, it makes like the gives me chills. Like,
Have you had a
but that
chance?
was all just yeah, a cool organic moment with them.
Have you had a chance to hear that song live?
I haven't, dude. That's such a
Oh
shame. But no, I have
man,
not. Is it good?
it is so good, man. I've seen the band a couple times in the last like year. I think they first played it on that Under Oath tour, so maybe it's been a few times. But yeah, dude, that song goes
That's
in,
great.
and I got to know like
That's
because if
great. I
you
love that.
you write a song, you're right behind it, and getting a chance to see it live, does it kind of like become a new beast almost, where it's like, I'm seeing this from a
Yeah,
completely different
man.
angle.
I think I start to view it all like like an organism or something. Like there's a point where it definitely like isn't your property anymore or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or you know, not that it ever was, because I'm not the artist in most cases, but I do feel a sense of ownership over it. But yeah, you go to a show, big show, where people are just, you know, just bleeding the words, you know what I mean, just living it, like it's just part of them. And like it's so, you know, seeing them sing like that, you're just like, okay, well, I think it's that person's song now. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
to create a visceral reaction like that is like hard to put into words. And I'm not on stage typically, right? So like I just get to be this, like I just, no one really knows, right? I'm usually a fly on the wall. I'm usually like able to just appreciate those moments and stuff like that. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that's something I'll ever get used to. It's a lot of my bands now are playing these massive shows too, man. It's like it's so big that I don't even understand like when it changed or something. If that makes sense. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, I get it. I do get it. Sorry, that sounds mean. I'm just
No,
like,
no,
I'm
I
just
get it.
so mind blown by the reality that we're in right now. Where like these bands that I love are playing arenas and to people like further than you can see when you're on stage. And it's like, but we're doing the same music we've always done, right? It's
Yeah.
cool to see this thing take on a bigger life and have like a more mainstream like recognition or something. I can't, that's not even a good way to put it. It's very awe-inspiring, and I'm still just like, I don't know, man. Like I know how to make a dope song and I care more than anyone you've ever met. But yeah, when I stand there and it's like, you know, a video got, you know, it gets a video made by someone and that's their whole thing. Is just being as passionate about the video as you were about the song. And then the band is just passionate about the whole show and everything. And then the crowd is passionate about the band and the song. And it's like this super just like indescribable just moment where I don't know, you're all like providing what the other needs. And yeah, it's a great feeling. It's like the best parts of the job, and definitely a high that I chase because it doesn't happen often enough. I also don't get out of my house often enough, but like
Yeah.
to just feel the impact of something you did, or like a lyric that you were you know, instrumental in helping with, or I don't know what it would be, right? And I don't want to take any type of like sole credit. You know, I just want to say again that I don't do anything by myself at all. Like
Mhm.
I'm surrounded by like incredibly talented musicians and bands and everyone, but everyone's got the same goal. It's like once you set the bar, you're like, okay, we can now do anything. Like now we can send music to outer space. We can you know, like we can hit number 1 on the radio. We can hit number 1 on YouTube. Literally all of that is possible because I've done all of it. And so like I'm like, that really excites me. So now I'm like, all right, let's blow some minds. Like let's pull the rug out from under some people. Like, you know, like let's have fun.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? So I think a lot of fans online have this idea of what a producer is and what they do. Like, do you feel like that's the kind of the
Mhm.
same? You get the same idea?
Yeah, I find a lot of non-music people don't really understand what it is a producer does. Like usually even some of the most basic stuff I tell them, they're like, "Oh, you write the song too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, it is true. It's like a different role. It's a completely different hat. It's a different job, like songwriter versus producer. But, you
Right.
know, a lot of producers are also songwriters." And so I'm like, "Yeah, I usually have to say it 2 or 3 times so they really understand like the scope of it." I'm usually like, "Yeah, so an artist like writes a song, but they need to like record it with somebody. So I'm like, I'm the guy that makes the actual like thing you could click play on. Like the recorded version of the song is like me and the artist generally. So I usually just try to make it that simple. And they're like, "So you meet them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I meet them."
I hope so.
It's like, you know, it's like they really don't understand. I'm like, "Yeah, like literally we're in the room, like, you know, it comes from somewhere. Like, where do you think the music comes from? Like, a guy produces it, a guy makes it."
Yeah.
So
I think people have this
yeah,
idea of
it's
like it's gonna be, oh, you go to one producer and then it's gonna just be this one sound, or I mean, it can sound like a lot of
yeah, it's
things.
like, yeah, it's anything. I mean, a lot of my favorite producers, that I'm inspired by are responsible for lots of big bands who all have very different, distinct sounds. I mean, that's what impresses me the most. So I'm torn somewhere between that version of a great producer and also just like I loved producers. Like I was always a big fan of John Feldman, especially
Hmm.
when I was younger. And like I loved how I could just tell when he did something, even without knowing it. I could be like, oh, this sounds like John Feldman did this. And I opened the CD and reading the booklet, and I'm like, John Feldman.
Yep.
And that was me as a young kid getting a little better, like my ears getting, I don't realize that at the time, but in any case, there is something distinct that I like about that person and that sound. And so, hang on one second. I need to. There we go. Sorry, I'm back.
No,
I was
that's
just
good.
getting
That's
another
good.
call. But yeah, and so I'm caught between those two because I want that too. So it's like on the one hand, I don't mind having a sound. I kind of do want to have like a default core sound. Like, okay, you go to Tyler, it's going to be XYZ unless instructed otherwise. It's like there are certain things that I have found that I like. But like anybody, I'm always switching it up and changing what that means to me.
So would you say like a producer would maybe curate a vibe or like a feeling?
Absolutely.
Like that's
Oh,
like
for
their
sure.
biggest role is just really curating that kind of environment, or is it like a
Hmm.
different?
The same way like a director and a cinematographer and like set designers, and they all work together so that the set feels like this, and the camera angle is like down looking up so that it has like this type of emotion kind of baked into it. Because it makes you feel like as the viewer you're looking down, right? So it makes you feel like commanding or like in control. There's all these like subtle things happening, and it's the same thing in music. Like the snare and the guitar tones and all this stuff are all designed to emotionally pull like different strings, right? And just make you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And yeah, a really good producer pays attention to all those things. I like to get all really fancy in a lot of what I do. So I end up adding like it's almost like a little movie a lot sometimes on some of the tracks, because there's so many like atmosphere moments where the like atmosphere that I create when in between the vocal stabs or something is part of the emotion. So there's like, yeah, I don't know. It's so hard. Wow. I mean, yeah,
That is hard, isn't
that's
it?
a lot at once. Yeah, it's just hard to put into words why I'm doing those things other than just a really developed, refined taste of what I know is going to work and be cool. Just like a great director, a great special effects like creator or supervisor or something knows, right? They're like, oh, if you shoot it like this, then when you edit it this way, it's going to be so crazy because XYZ. And I've shot a lot of movies, so to speak, but that is to say I've just made a lot of songs and albums. So I've got some experience with like, yeah, all of those jobs and all of those things. And I think I just care a lot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's hard to take me out of it. And I care so much and I put so much myself into it. And, and I'm not alone. I mean, I think a lot of artistically inclined, musically inclined people care a lot, but it's fun. It's really fun to get to do something I like. And I actually think I've gotten to be pretty good at over the years.
Yes, absolutely. And like it has to drive you nuts to see like, you put all this work into something and then someone's like, "Oh, that's overproduced." Like, what does that even
Sure.
mean? Like, what does that even mean? Like, is it too many effects? Is it
Yeah.
like this? Is it that? Like, I think a lot of people will use the term overproduced as a
Yeah.
conflation of like, I just don't like this.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it. Like I don't I know that that's my sound. Like I like the overproduced sound because I never sit down and go, okay, above all, this song needs to sound super realistic. It needs to sound like like a real drum kit in a room. It needs to sound like one vocalist, no fake. No, because my compass, my like North Star, is always the song or the idea. So I don't care about it sounding real or not sounding real. I just want the recorded song to be the best, and then that's just my priority, right? Like everyone's different. Like some people just, yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. I just really prioritize the concept and the
Yeah.
idea. For me, I view it more like I'm Christopher Nolan and I'm going to go take this incredibly complex idea. You know, let's look at Inception. It's like, okay, I'm going to make a movie where like time moves at different rates and there's all these different levels of reality and they coexist linearly, and I'm gonna also bake this down into something that can be a pop culture film that anyone can understand and everyone can enjoy. Like, I think of my music as the same thing. It's like, I'm gonna take this song, you know, I don't know what it is, like, and I'm gonna do the most bombastic, ambitious, you know, maybe it's cinematic, maybe it's big catchy chorus, maybe it's all of those, but I'm gonna like distill this craziness into something that is still 3.5 minutes long that you can still connect with, even if it's a roller coaster ride. So
Totally.
I really view it that way. I used to jokingly say to like my friends in the studio and stuff that I was like, I want to be the dang, I just blanked on this guy's name. Who's the guy that like directs all the Transformers movies and stuff?
Oh,
Oh, Michael Bay.
yeah, Michael Bay.
I used to jokingly say, I was like, dude, I want to be the Michael Bay of rock music. And like, I kind of think that's a really funny, accurate way of describing it. Cause like, you know, I'm joking and being a little facetious, but at the time, like, his people hated on all of his shit. Cause it's like, in some ways it's so cliche and you know, everything's orange and teal and it's like jam packed with lens flares and like, but I like that stuff. I like special effects. Like, I think all this stuff is cool. So
Yeah,
I
of course.
jokingly view my own work that way, where I'm like a rock song that's jam packed with lens flares and all these cool like extra explosions and things that totally the movie didn't need. And yeah, at a certain point it becomes gratuitous and like, but no, it's just my style, you know. So
Yeah.
I really make people like a fan of something they didn't know they could like, you know, or whatever. Like, you take a song like Ronald or something that I did with Ron. No, I didn't work. I'm just one that there were several people that worked on that, but it's a good song to illustrate the point because it's like there's no chorus, there's no like repeating nature. It's got like really crazy thrash metal with like orchestral like doomy elements mixed with like straight up rap mixed with like, but you can't say it's poorly done, right? You can just say you don't have to like it, but you can't say it's bad. You can't say, I don't know. That's what I aim for with the overproduced thing. I
Yeah.
aim for it to be to where even if you don't like it, you can tell it was done with care and you can tell that it's well executed, right? So it's like, well, maybe you just don't like Ronald, but
Execution.
yeah,
That's a
what
good word. That's a great word. Because I feel like
it is,
the
it's
Ronnie verse is so. I mean, there's really he has so many different ideas, but it's your job to really help flesh those
he's
out to the best.
brilliant,
Yeah.
bro. And he's built this like all off of out of his own mind, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's just cool to be you know, adjacent to that and a partner in that on some levels. Like, you know, again, I hate speaking like I'm the only person again, because like even Ronald had so many talented people that worked on it. But that kind of illustrates my point too. Like, my goal isn't an egotistical one, right? Like, my goal isn't to like exclude people from something that instead, you know, we include all these people, all this like crazy input, whether it's like, you know, having the Tech Nine verse, having like, you know, I don't know, there's just so many brilliant minds that worked on that, and let it be special for that. Let it be special because it ends up being this like bespoke piece of almost like art, right? That there's like no song we could ever make will end up like that, because again, it's like this is what I meant by I'm obsessed with the process. It's like
Yeah.
we made that with like there's just, I don't know, it's like the best guitarist and the best drummer and the best vocalist and the best, you know, I've ever met all on one song, like all doing what they do well. And you know, I'm just trying to produce like almost like executive produce all of these brilliant minds. Like, you know, it's like I want to re-illustrate that it's like such a massive team effort, but that's my goal from the beginning, and that's everyone's goal, is like, let's make something crazy where people are like, how did you make that? And we're like, I don't know, man. You know, it's like that's you just kind of have to open yourself up to that thought and that opportunity, whereas the old me would be like, I don't know, I would have tried to I would want people to know that I did it all by myself or something, right? And it's
Yeah.
like funny how as I've gotten more successful, that has mattered to me way less. Like what people think I did or didn't do, I don't give a shit, bro, because I know exactly what I did. I don't want to downplay it either. Like I'm definitely a cog in all of this, right? And I do what I do so well, and I think from that confidence, yeah, that gives me enough to be like cool, because I know we're making cool shit,
Yeah,
and
of course.
every day we're making fans, we're turning people into fans of a genre they didn't even know they liked. It's like they didn't know they liked screaming, but they like this, and it's like, well, guess what? Maybe you do like screaming. You just haven't heard it in a way that you like or something.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
all of that is a very long-winded way to say these are the things that excite me about the work and the job, and like I like to challenge my own sensibilities too. I say this all the time, but I love having my mind changed, and I'm like anybody, I'm opinionated. Anyone who's good at something has their own thoughts on it, right? Like what worked for them. I'm going to feel more inclined versus, maybe your story as a producer is different, right? So you're going to have a different set of things that you value. But I love having my mind changed. I love being like, no, that's stupid. That's not going to work. And then being, Ronnie does this all the time to me. Like he's such a great producer too, man, it's crazy how we've both stepped into these roles like more and more over the years. But like I can think of like on Voices in My Head, for example, I had this crazy bridge. It was so fancy. It was like this crazy build up tensiony thing, all these layers and exactly very Tyler type of moment.
yeah.
And he was like, "Nah, bro, take it all out, take it all out." And I was just like, so at first I'm like, it's not gonna be better, whatever, dude. He's like, no, take out more, take that out, take all that out. Okay, just the snare and just the 808. And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's just start there. And I hit play, and I'm like, son of a bitch, this is way better. You know what I mean? It's like I just worked all day on that, but you're right, this is way sicker if I just remove my ego from it and I just listen to it, like from a swaggy point of view, from a confidence point of view, from like a not distracting from the story or the vocal. I'm like, it's just better. It's just better in every way. And that's like one minor example of like Ronnie's ability to like cue into those things. It's like he has an incredible ear and an incredible feeling for what's appropriate too. And I think when you get, two people that are just fucking sick at what they do and there's some language, like some compromise there on both sides, you end up with something stellar.
Yeah.
And I will say one of the coolest compliments that he's given me many compliments over the years, but like every now and then he'll bring it up and he'll be like, dude, what are the odds that you're like this sick producer and you also rap? He's like, it's so convenient that you like understand, because he is a very multifaceted artist. It's like I wouldn't expect you don't necessarily assume the metal guy really is going to also understand the rap, like really understand it, where I can be like having a real conversation almost in like a different language. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we're like la da da ba, like, and he'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I see, and then it's like it's a really cool like charming back and forth that has just gotten better over the years, and I think it just happens with confidence and trust in each other and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you guys have such a deep relationship too. I mean, you guys were, I think you were on that tour 2017,
Oh
2018 maybe?
yeah,
Like a long time ago.
yeah, yeah, totally. And I mean, it's funny because that tour, even back then, is the biggest tour that we ever did, pretty much. Like,
Which is
it's so,
yeah.
and it was probably like, 2000 a night or so. I mean, it was way bigger than we had any business being on. But it's like now, it's like now I'm going and seeing Ronnie at like the biggest arenas we have in LA. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. Like I flew to Denver for Red Rocks and that was insane. He played Madison Square Garden in New York City and I did not get to be there for that. But I'm just saying, like, it's changed so much. But the coolest thing is that it's like we're still doing the same thing in some ways, like I'd like to think we're better.
Yeah. It's
Honor to
crazy.
do it, man.
It's
Like
crazy because that
really
would
trying to represent.
that so speaking of the smaller stages compared to like now, I saw Falling Headline right before COVID shut everything down. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the new stuff that you had been working on together that got the biggest response out of the entire evening by a mile. And I
Yeah.
was thinking to myself, like,
Yeah.
they're never coming back here ever again. They'll never play the Roseland ever again. It just because
Man,
the
that's such
response
a big
was
venue too.
right, and it's the
To me,
biggest club. It's
it's
the
like,
biggest club venue in Portland, but just I mean, it was sold out, and
mm,
just the absolute response though, like the crowd was huge for those songs. Like that was right when
that's sick, man.
Popular Monster was coming out. Like it was really having a
Hmm.
moment, and yeah, then everything shut down, and then you would think a lot of momentum would kind of like, you know, dissipate and whatnot, but then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then yeah, they're playing Dan and Shay size venues now.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I
Yeah,
love Dan and Shay.
is dude, don't we all?
Uh,
Don't we all?
yeah.
That is
I
a,
I just wish I could sing like that, but
I mean,
I can't.
I guess I mean, are you working with anyone else outside of the rock scene? Maybe working with like more EDM, like a Ray Volp or a Sullivan King or
I've had some conversations like with Sullivan, and he's really cool, but we haven't ever been able to line up. I don't know, it's probably both of us, but I know that I've been really busy and stuff, so
yeah.
it could be that. But I'm working on an absolute shitload of stuff right now. Sort of across a whole wide. I don't know that I can share any of it, but it is.
Oh man.
I've definitely got some stuff outside of rock, and I
Okay.
definitely have some stuff that is like, I don't know. It's actually, some of it is so far away from me, like, that I haven't even let myself like acknowledge. I still feel like it's not really happening, right? So I don't know. Like, when I don't know, man. I can't explain it. I know there's something good happening, and I know that to even be in these conversations is like, indicative of a bigger thing in my career, but I don't know. I'm just a little like, I'll freak out about that when it actually happens or something, right? It's like, even though I'm in direct communication and like we're, exchanging tracks and we're working on stuff, I don't know. There's some things that are big that I'm really eager to, I hope they are. I hope they come out because they would be life changing.
So the new Clay Aiken single then.
You got me. It's Clay Aiken. It's 100% Clay Aiken.
I
No,
mean,
I'm just kidding.
um,
I do think that your mind will be blown. I'll say
I
that
hope so, man. I mean, I have like an
in a good way. In a good
yeah,
way.
no, no, no.
You'd be
It'll be
like,
good though. I mean,
what?
like I'm loving though, like where things are kind of at though, where you have people like Cody working with other country artists, and you have, even I was looking today. Mitchell Tenpenny has a track with Under Oath on it. That's, I mean,
Whoa.
that's a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, why
It's like
not?
it's like rock is finally waking up to what like all these other genres have always been really good at. But now it's like, I swear 10 years ago or less than that, like, you weren't really rewarded for like stepping outside of the lines at all. In fact, like, your band would suffer because of it. And I think a little bit, I think that happened to Danger Kids and a lot of other bands a little bit. It's like, even though to a music person like me, it doesn't feel that outside the lines, I'm just like part of that resurgence of the rap rock wave. But,
Hmm.
radio at the time would not play us. We spent like an amazing portion of our entire budget trying to get a song to do well at radio. And all the feedback was basically like, no rap, we don't like this. And, bands, especially back then, they were way more, I don't know. Rock was very like self cannibalizing or something, right? It's like all the bands that should be touring together didn't like each other because they were too similar.
Yeah.
And so, whereas rappers would just do a song together and tour together and like just make money out, just be successful, lean in, right? It's like, I think rock is doing those things now, and it's cool to see. It's neat, like branching out, like not being as like protective or something or it's like I just think they're allowing themselves to do what they really want to do a little more. And so you end up with these like Sleep Tokens and stuff, right? These like dope bands that are just doing something a little new. And I just think 8 years ago or something that wouldn't have happened. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know, people would have like made fun of it and bullied it and like never even really listened. And what a waste, because what an incredible band. So
Have you heard the new Bill
I'm
Murray?
grateful for it. No, but
I think
I
you'd like it,
imagine it's
man.
amazing.
I think you'd love it, man.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I'm sure.
But I feel like you
Here,
would
I'm gonna
love a
put
lot
that
of
on my
things. So
list
like, I
right
mean,
now.
there's that new Islander album just dropped. I think you might like that because they're super
I'm gonna
tight with
start with
the
this.
they're super tight with the I Prevail guys. I know that.
Sick. Yeah, I'll definitely jam this. I'm stoked.
Yeah, I mean
Adding it to my list.
they self released it too. So,
Hmm.
but
I
um,
respect that.
yeah, I mean, so you can't drop who you're working with right now. Um,
Not really,
no, I get that though.
unfortunately.
I guess who are some of the lesser known bands, whether you're working with them or not, that you really think you have that like X factor to them, like the ones that we're going to be talking about 5 years from now?
Um, I mean, I don't think it's like me that's the X factor or something like that, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm working with a bunch. Like, I love working with Following. I love all the I Prevail stuff I do. I mean, lately I've just been doing like singles and stuff, right? So I've been like, I'm in, work. I don't know. I'm still, it's so hard to say it all. The Devil Wears Prada are like old friends of mine. So it was cool to
Mm-hmm.
do songs with them. I got to, I wrote a Nothing More track that just came out like a week or two ago. I don't know. I did a Sirens like single last year, Sleeping with Sirens, super dope. Just I'm trying to think of some one-off stuff. Like the I Prevail Hailstorm thing is really cool. I did a couple of like Skillet songs. Most of the stuff I can't say.
Yeah, I
I
get
mean, you
that.
mentioned the
I
Ghost
get
Inside and all that.
I get that. But no, I mean like
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I'm writing with a lot of people. If I can spare the time, I'm also producing those things that I'm writing. And then, yeah, I'm just trying to do as much as I can.
I mean, do you prefer to do the singles or would you like to go into like album mode eventually down the road?
Eventually I like to do an album, but yeah, I think right now singles make sense because I don't know, I like people want like that sound for their single, which is really exciting for me. And so I have a personal goal of like, I don't know, just seeing how many songs I can have on radio by the end of the year because I have a
Mm,
bunch that are about to come out. And
I
so I don't know, I kind of want to see like if I can get a chunk of Octane airplay, for just one time in my life. I can be like, dude, that's that summer, dude, or or whatever. Like, just straight up dominated.
Man, hey, dude, we're about an hour in. I guess you know what? I gotta ask you, wrapping up here, who are some people that you would love to see dip their toes in the production world that maybe haven't yet? Joe, who goes by Nothing Nowhere, or
Hmm.
I'm just thinking about other people like.
I think there's actually a lot out there who have either never tried or they've never really truly pursued it. But I think, I really come from the world of an artist who learned to record just to support my own band and my own art. I imagine there's a lot of that out there, right? So I think it'd be cool to see some of those people who produce their own bands, but nothing else, produce other stuff as well. And I'm sure they all do a little bit, but it's like, I I will say it makes you so much more talented, right? Like as a writer and as a producer to expand your like mind in different ways and stuff. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's definitely a thing that makes you better at what you do. But again, all those bands that have like producers in the band, which is already a superpower, like in and of itself. I think those people should start offering to write for other bands. That's what I did when I was on tour. I would be like, I want to make friends with this band. They're super cool, but like I don't really have anything of value to offer. I'm not good at graphic design. I'm not really like a photographer or anything like that. I can't make a website. I don't know anything about like HTML, but I can write a song, and I'm really, really sick with like a computer and with a DAW. And I'm very, I don't know. So I would always, on tour, I would always be like, we should write a song. We should write a song. And, that's why to this day, I still do like Bless the Fall and stuff like that. And all of these things are relationships that started as just like touring relationships, and they like evolved into something else where I was like, whoa, you guys should write a song with me. And then a song becomes an album or whatever. And then
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. It's just a
Being
really
confident.
neat skill. Yeah. And it'll make you confident too. I mean, doing anything without having like, there's always a period where you're nervous, and like,
Yeah, of course.
I still walk into some sessions now, like every now and then I get to write or work on some really big sessions. So I walk in these rooms where I'm like, oh God, I have no business being here. I'm so nervous. I hate this. And like, you just have to like, it's like going on stage and you have stage fright or something. You just have to do it. You just have to like get over it. If that's what you want to do, if the goal is to get on stage and perform, then eventually you get up there or you don't. Right. So I think that, learning that feeling is actually like so sick, and it's like more like a natural high, and I don't know, it makes me feel alive. It makes me nervous. It like, again, I really like these moments now. Now it's like, I know I'm doing something right if I'm like walking in this room just intimidated as hell. And what always happens is like, you realize it's not that bad, And so anyone that's listening that maybe has this thought that they could do this and offer this skill, like being nervous is totally normal, but it's not that bad. Like you'll sit down, you'll start talking, you'll start doing your thing. I mean, you may even find, like I did, that you're like, I don't know, maybe you're better than you thought or something. Like I started doing it and I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't look at other people. I still don't. I don't know, man. Sometimes I ask these artists in here what some of their other writing sessions look like, because I have no clue. I'm like, this is just how I write, dude. But I don't know. What does everyone else do? I really don't know. I don't even really take the time to ask myself those questions. But yeah, I would encourage anyone, just take your skill and find a way to like create value for all these other bands and stuff. And you'd be surprised that just the friendships, the connections, let alone tours and albums and all this stuff that can come out of it. And it's really just people getting together. And now you've got, rock bands featuring on other things. And, I just did an I Prevail Hailstorm song together. It's like two bands you never thought you'd hear on a song, made a really cool song. And like, it doesn't have to be anything more than that. I just think that's sick. I'm really excited about the future of all of it, especially with rock and hard rock.
Of course. I mean, and that comes again back to the idea that where it takes a lot of balls to really just reach out and be like, hey, let's write a song together. Because now all these different, timelines are opening up where you have a song with I Prevail and Hailstorm. You have, a song with The Ghost Inside and
Mm-hmm.
Blessthefall and Devil Wears Prada. Like, all of this is because you took the bravery and you reached out and you took a chance, and maybe they said no, like
Mm-hmm.
that's fine, but like you took the chance and you asked, and they
Mm-hmm.
took it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's it. That's it. I'd say, it's like the closed mouths don't get fed thing. Like not everyone wants to write a song with someone else. That's all right. Like,
Yeah.
but you'll find somebody. And out of the people that you work with, some of them you'll really create like lasting friendships with, and you might even be like, incredible together. Like you really don't know. I will say that I make much better music with a creative partner than I do by myself. And I know a lot of these band guys are just doing everything themselves, or maybe with one other guy in the band. But trying to challenge yourself by working with different creative types is like going to just make you so good at your job. It's going to make you a great writer and a great producer,
Absolutely.
adaptable, understanding. Like, yeah. And I don't know. I'm obsessed with it. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
Man, that's a really great note to end on. So you're on the gram. Anywhere else you're active right now, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, my Instagram is just my name. It's Tyler Smyth. It's spelled Smyth. You can also go, that's also my website, which is a little out of date, but I'll be updating it here soon. You can see some of the other stuff I've done.